Welcome to the era of unstoppable steel. These bulldozers weren't built to cooperate. They were built to crush. No computers, no mercy, just raw force. Decades later, modern machines still can't match them. This isn't progress, it's dominance. Number 1. The Caterpillar D8. The Caterpillar D8 has long been the archetype of a mid-size, heavy-duty dozer the machine contractors called when they needed something that could be trusted to keep working day after day. What set the D8 apart was not a single flashy innovation, but a succession of smart, incremental design choices, a heavy, rigid frame that resisted twisting under stress, a long track length that spread weight and reduced ground pressure, and a serviceable engine layout that technicians could access without dismantling half the machine. These were machines designed in an era when downtime meant lost wages and delayed schedules. As a result, maintainability was baked into every panel and bolt. Operators remember how predictable and forgiving the D8's controls felt, with hydraulic and mechanical responses that matched real-world intuition rather than computerized curves. Modern dozers are faster, cleaner, and packed with electronics that improve fuel efficiency and grading precision, but those same systems can complicate repairs on remote sites. In contrast, the vintage D8's simplicity meant that a skilled mechanic with a wrench and an understanding of mechanical systems could get it running again in a day. For jobs in remote quarries, salvage sites, or places where rugged reliability trumps absolute speed, D8s in good hands still outwork many newer machines. There's also a tactile nostalgia. Operators often speak of the D8's feel, weight, feedback, and sound qualities that modern isolation and filtration systems have softened. For tasks that reward brute resilience and easy field serviceability, the Caterpillar D8 remains a living legend. Number 2. The Caterpillar D9. When you need muscle, and you need it now, the Caterpillar D9 has historically been the go-to. This is a bulldozer with a reputation, overbuilt components, heavy-duty undercarriage, and a capacity to push, rip, and clear under conditions that would make lighter machines falter. The D9's advantage isn't merely raw horsepower. It's the way that power is transmitted through a stout drivetrain and a frame engineered to withstand constant, heavy stress. Those who maintain and restore older D9s will tell you how many parts are intentionally oversized, and how service intervals were designed around practical work rhythms rather than theoretical testing cycles. That design ethos has benefits today. On projects involving demolition, land clearance for highways, or logging roads where machines constantly absorb shocks, older D9s tolerate damage and abuse with fewer electronic alarms and less bureaucratic maintenance scheduling. Another factor is component longevity. Many D9 parts were made of thick steel and castings that can be reconditioned or welded. A repair shop can patch up a cracked mount or reline a track shoe without needing specialized electronic calibrations. Modern dozers use complex monitoring systems and materials engineered for weight savings and emissions control. When those systems fail or require recalibration, the downtime and cost can be significant. In contrast, a D9's mechanical resilience and straightforward systems make it a pragmatic choice in settings where the logistics of repair and the roughness of the work dominate the conversation. For sheer endurance and field repair friendliness, the D9 still holds court. Number 3. The International Harvester TD14. The International Harvester TD14 represents a class of machines designed during an era when mechanical simplicity and accessibility were paramount. This dozer's straightforward engine bay, uncomplicated hydraulic circuits, and robust track system made it a favorite among contractors who needed reliable performance with minimal fuss. The TD14's control layout was intuitive, with levers and linkages that offered direct feedback. Operators felt like they were part of the machine, rather than passengers in a computerized cockpit. That tactile connection matters on uneven, unpredictable terrain, where human judgment outpaces automated assistance. Another enduring advantage is the TD14's ability to tolerate less than ideal fuel quality and improvised repairs, realities that still matter in parts of the world where modern fuel standards, diagnostic tools, and parts supply chains are limited. Restorers and owners of TD14s often emphasize the machine's fixability. If something broke, you could clamp, weld, and improvise parts to keep it running. While modern dozers add value through GPS-guided grading and emission-compliant engines, those systems can be brittle without proper infrastructure. In contrast, the TD14's elemental engineering makes it exceptionally suited for demolition sites, rural construction, or emergency response work where you need a dozer that isn't waiting on an update or a firmware patch. In those contexts, the TD14's vintage simplicity is not a drawback, it's the core advantage. Number 4. The Caterpillar D7. The Caterpillar D7 sits in that sweet spot between nimbleness and brute force. It was large enough to handle substantial earth-moving, but small enough to be maneuverable in tighter job sites, an architectural balance that many modern machines sometimes forego in favor of scale or automation. The D7's choreography of power and posture came from an era when operator skill was the primary control interface. With a seat-of-the-pants feel and immediate mechanical feedback, operators could finesse pushes, feather blades, and modulate power with a kind of precision modern assistive tech tries to emulate. The D7 frame and undercarriage were engineered for even weight distribution and long service life. Paired with a robust, serviceable engine, the machine often outlived the projects it was built for. In reclamation, agricultural leveling, and road maintenance where versatility counts, a D7's mix of control and power can be unmatched. Additionally, older D7s were often used and maintained by hands-on crews who knew the machine intimately. That accumulated knowledge means that certain vintage D7s are kept in operation far beyond the life cycle modern manufacturers expect. Newer dozers offer advanced blade shape algorithms and lower emissions, but they sometimes come with trade-offs in terms of tactile control, field service complexity, and parts cost. When the job requires a blend of precision and toughness, and when repair resources are manual rather than digital, the D7's design philosophy still wins hearts and contracts. Number 5. The Allis-Chalmers HD series. Allis-Chalmers may be better remembered for tractors and industrial gear, but their heavy-duty bulldozer offerings brought a level of pragmatic engineering that made them favorites in demolition yards and heavy construction. The HD series in particular emphasized straightforward, heavy-gauge components and accessible service points. These machines were unapologetically robust, thick steel plates, simple powertrains, and minimal electronic integration. That industrial grit translates into tangible advantages in environments full of abrasives, contaminants, and constant mechanical shock. One of the enduring reasons the HD series is still celebrated is that many parts were designed to be remachined or refabricated rather than replaced wholesale. For owners in small shops, that reduces cost and makes long-term ownership feasible. Another quality was the focus on modular repairability. Power pack components, hydraulic pumps, and undercarriage modules were arranged so that an enterprising mechanic could swap or rebuild items without a factory-level service team. Today's dozers may outpush vintage machines on paper, but their reliance on proprietary sensors and control modules can create repair bottlenecks. In contrast, Allis-Chalmers HD machines can be patched, welded, and kept running in ways that suit environments with limited supply networks. For contractors working in demolition, scrapyards, or rugged infrastructure projects, the HD series still offers an invaluable proposition. When the chips are flying and the schedule is unforgiving, simpler and tougher often wins. Number 6. The Komatsu D355A. Komatsu's vintage D55A sits at the larger end of the bulldozer family. Designed for the heavy extraction and bulk earth-moving tasks that define large-scale mining and civil works. What sets the D355A apart is its deliberate engineering for continuous, high-stress operations, a reinforced frame, cooling systems sized for relentless loads, and an undercarriage built to absorb long cycles of wear. The D55A's advantage in certain contexts is a combination of sustained torque delivery and an undercarriage geometry that spreads wear, meaning fewer catastrophic failures and more time between major overhauls when maintained properly. Another trait that is often underplayed is the machine's psychological effect on a job site. Larger, proven vintage giants give crews confidence in the machine's presence and capability, which in turn reduces hesitation during heavy lifts or aggressive pushes. While modern superdozers include advanced engine management systems to meet emissions targets and improve fuel consumption, those systems can introduce complexity in high-dust, high-heat environments common to mines. The D55A's older mechanical controls are often more tolerant of such extremes. For companies running older fleets, the availability of rebuild kits and aftermarket heavy components makes restoring a D55A economical compared to the high-cost replacement cycle of newer models. When the requirement is steady, long-duration earth removal under harsh conditions, the D55A's vintage engineering and proven track record keep it competitive. Number 7. The Fiat-Allis model line. Fiat-Allis machines occupy an important chapter in bulldozer history. They bridged European engineering sensibilities with global practicalities. Known for compact durability, Models in this line were designed to perform reliably in diverse climates and terrains, from arid construction zones to humid infrastructure projects. Unlike some heavier machines that excel in a single niche, Fiat-Allis dozers were versatile workhorses, nimble enough for roadwork and robust enough for light mining or forestry tasks. Their design emphasized straightforward hydraulics, easily traceable piping, and service access that local mechanics could manage without specialized diagnostic gear. That made Fiat-Allis dozers popular in developing markets where sophisticated dealer networks were sparse. Another reason these machines endure is parts interchangeability. Many components were standardized across multiple models, simplifying inventory for operators and reducing downtime. Modern dozers often aim for specialization and optimization, which can fragment parts ecosystems and make field maintenance more complicated. Fiat-Allis machines, by contrast, succeeded through commonality and simplicity. On projects where the balance between scale and maneuverability matters, municipal work, small land reclamation, and mixed-use construction sites, these older machines are sometimes preferred because they deliver predictable performance and are forgiving to repair improvisation. Their global footprint also means a vibrant community of owners and remanufacturers who share knowledge and parts, keeping the machines active decades after their initial production. Number 8. The Shantui SD series. Shantui, a major player in heavy equipment manufacturing, built vintage SD series bulldozers intended for broad utility and ruggedness. These machines were built with an eye on mass deployment, simple controls, heavy undercarriages, and an emphasis on durability over marginal efficiency gains. One reason these older Shantui models remain competitive in certain markets is their operational resilience in hot, dusty, and wet conditions. Their cooling systems, weight distribution, and simple intake protections often make them tolerant of the environmental stress that modern, high-performance engines aren't always designed to face without enhanced filtration and monitoring. Another practical strength is the ease of sourcing replacement components either from local suppliers or through remanufacturers. Shantui's manufacturing philosophy favored parts that could be produced at scale and repaired in smaller shops. This reduces the total cost of ownership over long service lives. For contractors working on infrastructure in remote regions, that translates into a dependable asset that won't sit idle waiting for a specialty part. While contemporary machines may offer higher efficiency and tighter tolerances, the SD series ruggedness and cheap repairability make it a rational choice for heavy pushing, embankment formation, and any work where constant uptime is more valuable than marginal fuel savings. The workmanlike character of these dozers keeps them relevant where practicality beats novelty. Number 9. The Soviet-era T333 and T170 family. Soviet-era bulldozer designs, represented by families like the T170 and T333 lineage, are notable for their utilitarian robustness and design focus on operability in extreme climates. These machines were intended to work in remote, harsh environments, permafrost zones, remote forestry, and construction under poor logistical conditions. The engineering emphasis was on simplicity, abundant use of heavy steel, and redundancies that allowed basic, local repairs without specialized tooling. That philosophy produced machines that could be cannibalized for parts, welded back together, and kept operating for decades. The undercarriage geometry favored long service lives under abrasive conditions, and cooling and intake systems were designed to tolerate severe dust and cold without complicated after-treatment solutions. For modern contractors operating in environments where service networks are sparse and supply chains are long, these vintage machines can be more practical than modern alternatives that rely on telematics, sensitive electronics, and emission control hardware. There's also a cultural advantage. Many operators trained on these machines developed skills in improvisation and heavy mechanical maintenance, creating local ecosystems of knowledge that sustain operation. While the ride, ergonomics, and emissions profile of these dozers don't match modern expectations, their capacity to deliver consistent performance where logistics are the limiting factor keeps them in rotation in certain parts of the world. Number 10. Caterpillar D6 9U, 1955 to 1959. The Cat D6 9U is one of the most respected bulldozers ever built. This machine helped shape highways, dams, airfields, and entire cities during the post-war construction boom. It's famous for three things: perfect size balance, unstoppable reliability, and mechanical purity. The 9U series was built at a time when Caterpillar engineered machines to last decades, not warranty periods. Its naturally aspirated diesel engine could run for thousands of hours with minimal attention. No sensors, no ECUs, no limp modes, just fuel, air, compression, and torque. Operators loved it because it responded instantly, and mechanics loved it because everything was accessible and understandable. What makes the D69U still unbeatable in certain jobs is its weight-to-power ratio. It's heavy enough to push serious material, yet light and nimble enough to work in tight areas, forest trails, farm leveling, rural roads, and foundation prep. Modern dozers in this size class are often either too light, lacking bite, or too complex, overloaded with electronics. The 9U sits in a sweet spot modern design rarely targets. Even today, restored D69Rs are used for land clearing, irrigation projects, and off-grid construction. They tolerate bad fuel, dust, heat, and neglect far better than modern machines. Parts are still reproduced worldwide, and many components can be rebuilt rather than replaced. In places where a laptop can't diagnose a fault and a service truck is days away, the D69U keeps working. That's why, more than 70 years later, this bulldozer still earns its place among the machines modern engineering hasn't truly surpassed. These bulldozers didn't just move Earth, they shaped it. They outlived trends, technology, and time itself. Modern machines are smarter. These were immortal. Real power never fades.